All right, everybody, this is the web news, and this is going to be actually about a recent Reddit thread on r/webdev. So by Reddit user deliciousPop7019, they took to that r/webdev to express their current situation at work due to their manager and ChatGPT. And I'm just actually going to read the actual post because it's not super long. It's a few paragraphs. However, I'm going to link to this in the show notes and show description as well, in case you want to go and vote it up or comment or whatever else you do on Reddit. I'm not a big Redditor, clearly. But anyway, okay. The thread or the post is titled ChatGPT is making my job into a nightmare. And it reads, I'm dealing with a frustrating situation in my job at the moment. Essentially, my manager, who has never had involvement on the technical side and isn't a programmer, over the last 12 months or so has become obsessed with ChatGPT and heavily relies on it for any kind of critical thinking. He will blindly follow anything ChatGPT tells him and has started to interfere with things on the technical side directly without understanding the consequences of the changes he's making. When challenged, he's not able to explain what he's done beyond what ChatGPT said. One of the most frustrating things is that he runs everything I say to him through ChatGPT to double check it. I'll explain to him why we can't implement a feature, and he'll come back with ChatGPT says this. It's just taking so much energy to constantly have to explain to him why ChatGPT isn't man, I'm messing this up. To him, why what ChatGPT is saying doesn't apply in this case, or why ChatGPT is just plain wrong in this instance, and so on. Honestly, what I've written in this post is just the tip of the iceberg of the issues this is causing. Is anyone else dealing with a similar situation? I just wish he'd never discovered ChatGPT. I don't know what to do. It's driving me insane. And so, as a topic, because that's the end of the Reddit thread, as a topic, the thing I want to discuss is, is this just the new reality or should it be dealt with? Because I am certain this is happening elsewhere because we have a client that does this.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so just to go right into it, when I read this, my blood started boiling because, like, I know this situation. Matt mentioned that there is a client. I know the situation from outside of ChatGPT even. Like, I remember there was instances where everything that was said during like a dev meeting, this was before AI, one of the non-technical managers would go in and literally Google like line by line pretty much and see if he could find any contradictory facts, right? And that was frustrating. That happened to me once. It was super frustrating. I can't even imagine those kinds of managers in this situation because, and the biggest issue here, and that people don't realize, ChatGPT will agree with pretty much anything you're saying. So however you phrase the question, if you're going to phrase it negatively in any way, shape, or form, it's going to find any sort of sources, or it's going to find any sort of reason, whether it's real or not, contrived or not, to agree with your tone. And that makes these arguments almost impossible. This is like arguing with someone that doesn't believe in facts. This is like arguing with someone that doesn't believe in trusting experts, etc., etc. Those people, personally, in my personal life, I will just, as soon as I hear someone that contradicts facts and says like, oh, we can't trust studies, I will immediately just shut up and I will immediately stop interacting with that person on that subject, at least. Right? Like that is for me not, I do not do that. And this is what in real life is happening to people with ChatGPT, where people will just contradict anything you say and make it a nightmare to interact with them and work with them, right? Because this, to me at least, seems like a serious trust issue, right? Like, I know I'm a manager of a dev team, okay? Every time, developers talk and developers give ideas, some of those ideas are going to be wrong or the wrong rabbit hole or whatever. Like, it's going to happen. My trust comes in is like, I'm not going to try to contradict every single thing unless it's blatantly wrong. I'm going to let them go down some rabbit holes, make some mistakes, because I trust that they're eventually going to get to the right decision, right? But if you go through and you're not trusting any point that anyone brings up in a meeting, and you think that some other entity or yourself or, ChatGPT is going to be the right one, you should just fire everyone, or you should just quit or something like that. Like, there's no reason to be like that, right? Now, to answer your question, and I'll let you kind of rebuttal or discuss your opinion here too. Is this just the new reality, or should it be dealt with? I think it's both. It's absolutely the new reality. Yes, there's going to be managers, and I bet you a lot that will use ChatGPT as a crutch to try to get their way with their subordinates,
Right.
right? They're going to find ways to make ChatGPT create a statement that contradicts whatever their subordinate says and then use that against them, which is super easy to do, like I mentioned before. It be dealt with, yes, and it can only be dealt with, unfortunately, by either malicious compliance, which means that before you, when they do it to you, you do it to them. That's, in my opinion, the best way to handle people like that, being like, oh, this is what ChatGPT said, and then you respond back with, hey, this is what ChatGPT says about what you said, and then you just have a ChatGPT talking to each other. I think that's a great way to handle it. It might cause some, aggressiveness or whatever, but that's how I would do it, because screw that. Or you have something from the top down where you notice that this is a common problem, and you don't want those kinds of managers to be in the positions that they're in. Because again, it's a trust issue. Like, you could be right. The manager could be right. It's totally possible to do on some of these things. But as soon as you establish that you don't trust your subordinate, or you don't trust the people working under you, that's going to make a terrible work environment. No one's going to want to be creative. No one's going to want to do anything. And you got to let people fail sometimes. That's just the reality of being a manager.
Well, I think that this is I'm of two minds of this. So I do deal with a client who does this. Definitely not necessarily double checking everything, but he's very, very, very into AI. And in fact, calls me not even about his project, but calls me about AI specifically. And I found that in my conversations with him, I think he's more excited about AI than anything. However, it came across as what is happening to this Redditor in the beginning. And over time, it's actually gotten to be a fairly good relationship, and he's gotten his AI stuff kind of sorted to the point where he's actually, I believe it's doubled, it might have been tripled, but he's doubled his rates successfully using ChatGPT by him no longer going into emails and negotiating and talking to people. He actually gets ChatGPT to do that. He has a whole workflow attached to that. Now, I will say there's still some times where I will receive an email that is so clearly like it's from him, but it's so clearly from actually ChatGPT because there's emojis
Yeah,
and
I
separate
hate
like
that.
headings and things. But the thing is like I just know that that's going to happen now. And so what's happened though is our conversations either in person or over the phone used to be very like AI related in that he would run everything through ChatGPT and things like that. That's gone. And so I feel like his workflow now is he deals with his digital life through an AI, and then he deals with his real life, I guess. I don't know, corporeal form, whatever, his physical life, whatever, through like actual normal human means. And so he has actually gotten very efficient, surprisingly. And actually, we both get quite a bit done. And so the reason why I'm of two minds here is that for a number of weeks, it was really annoying. And I would push back in phone calls with him and say, we can't just trust the bot. The bot is saying that, this and this and this for SEO. It's not wrong, but that stuff's either already done or doesn't apply to you. And for those conversations at that point in his project, it was a lot of SEO conversations. And that was the main issue, was that I would do a bunch of stuff for him and it would be like, oh, no, 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 but the bot says to do this. The bot says I should be getting this much traffic. The bot says this. It's like, you can't take that type of stuff. Like, because what I tried to, tell him is that A, clearly you still need me. So the bot is not replacing me. And B, if everything was as easy as going to ChatGPT, going to any of the other ones that he uses, I don't know the other ones he uses, but I know he uses multiple, and simply, typing in, and he didn't do this, he did not do this, you know, how do I get rich on a website? The bot will let you know how to do it in step-by-step form if that's what you ask. And then you can do that. If everybody could just do that and then get rich, everyone would be rich, right? And so it took a while to kind of like drill that mentality down. And so now I'm kind of two minds a little bit where I mean, the stuff he's doing with AI makes sense. It's still sometimes an overstep This is under a year that he's been doing this, but I mean, having doubled or tripled his rates successfully is kind of interesting. It's kind of an interesting thing. And so, going back to this Reddit thread, I would hope that this is maybe something where this person is using a shiny new tool, is annoying with it. Should this be happening? No. At the end of the day, should it be happening? No. However, it's a new thing. ChatGPT is new to this person, especially, or seemingly anyway, right? And as a result of that, maybe this is a growing pain or something is kind of what if we try to give this manager the benefit of the doubt, this could just be some excitement for a new tech, and this could just be a growing pain. And assuredly someone who is strong-willed, strong-minded, something like that, will eventually come out and tell him, hey, you double checking everybody is like kind of looking down on them, or is kind of annoying to them, or whatever. And, assuming this manager is reasonable, they may say, okay, you know what, you're right. And so the overstep, goes away. Actually, a prime example that is not AI would probably be text etiquette, where when you add like a new person to one of your long-standing chat groups, that person's not going to have the text etiquette down. You always have, there's different people that have different text etiquette. Some people never answer. Some people only read messages and never answer, but then they still show up. And there's like a whole bunch of different things. Some people text about everything. Some people text pictures. Some people use emojis. Some people are like, they answer in 2 words. But there's still like a flow to those long-standing groups. And every single one of your chat groups, if you're in multiple, have their own flow. But if you add somebody new to it, they're bringing their own sort of text etiquette in, and they haven't conformed yet. And so, they may message, let's say, too much, which is kind of a classic thing. They may message too much, but then, assuming they're reasonable, in every case I can think of in my own personal life, that person has eventually just figured out, okay, this is the etiquette here.
Yeah, you make really good points, honestly, and I do agree with the statement that there is a place for it to be used in these situations, right? Like I do agree that, you should be more knowledgeable if you have the tool, be more knowledgeable. I just think that the overstepping of like, hey, ChatGPT says for every little point, obviously that's too much. And yeah, we agree on that. That's too much. Whether they actually do correct back, whether someone steps up to them and they take that feedback well, who knows? Obviously, this particular situation is tough.
For sure.
With a situation where a manager just becomes more knowledgeable in the space using ChatGPT, I think that's okay, right? As long as they're willing to be wrong, as long as they're willing to hear pushback, as long as they're, as long as they're not like relying it as a crutch. I think that's the key thing. They're using it as a tool to upskill in the certain area that they need to upskill to be a better manager for the team, to be more knowledgeable and to direct the team a little bit more. That's great, right? The non-technical manager becoming more technical through this tool is totally possible, especially if they put in the work. So that's good. But it's again, there is that balance, and there is a way for them to do it without sounding so condescending. Like
100%.
I think like just saying ChatGPT said is kind of an annoying thing. Having said that, always just presenting the knowledge that you're gaining as your own is also a little bit weird. So I don't know. There has to be, maybe there is some sort of in between where like, hey, I spent some time back and forth with ChatGPT or with AI in general. This is the kind of stuff it came up with. I'm not sure if I'm right, but can you check it over? So maybe maybe a less heavy-handed approach, a more like collaborative approach with
Yep.
the team could be the way to go. I don't know. There probably is other ways you can handle it too that are good. I'm not like an expert in this by any way, shape, or form, but yeah, I do.
Well, I was
Yeah.
actually going to say to you, just a brief interruption. What we're really drilling down to is what is the AI etiquette?
Mhm.
And I don't think that's been sorted yet. I mean, people know how to not be rude to each other because that's been kind of established for, centuries at this point,
Yeah,
right? And so only like, again, assuming everyone's reasonable in the room, sometimes some people will take certain things as rude or whatever due to their own family experiences. But in general, we know not to greet somebody by punching them in the face.
correct.
You know what I mean? And so like that's been established over centuries.
That's exactly it. And the other thing, like with this particular post and Reddit in general is Reddit is more more or less, unless you're in an AI subreddit, pretty anti-AI or skeptical AI, I should say, almost to an extreme measure. So they could be also overcorrecting in the sense of like they don't trust it for anything.
Right.
Where that's not, in my opinion, the right move either. Because I really do like, and I've been using AI more and more. I've been building on top of AI. I've been, using AI for deep analysis stuff, and I've been like, I've been working with it for a long time now. Like it's been quite a significant amount of time. I can tell you for a fact that it is something. Like there is a lot of value there. It's not perfect, way not even close, but it is. You can do some crazy things with it that weren't really accessible before without a completely different knowledge or skill set, right? Like this is a leap in a tool set. And I think people not acknowledging that are also on the wrong side of history, kind of in that sense. So in my opinion, you need to be somewhere in the middle. You have to be skeptical. You have to be skeptical because if you just trust AI 100%, this is the shit that happens. And you have other things like there was this a ridiculous argument that I was seeing on X. Probably one of the more ridiculous arguments I posted about it, but essentially someone posted their side of the argument, like a technical side of like, hey, this is what I'm doing with AI or something like that, or an AI SDK. And someone's like, oh, but I've heard it's bad. That was their like counterpoint. And they're like, okay, well, where'd you hear that? Like, I would love to hear more about it. And they posted a screenshot of a chat they had with Gemini asking why this is bad. And the result of that
Oh,
chat
I saw
was
that.
something.
Yes. Okay.
And I was like,
Yeah.
and then the guy's like, well, that's a terrible thing to do because like whenever you ask AI, they're going to be biased towards that argument. Whatever you ask them, there's like what? Then the response is like, well, if there isn't anything bad, there will be nothing bad to say about it. And I'm like that, and that was the end of the argument. He's like, I refuse to argue more because this is the end of the argument. That type of mentality with AI. So that's like using AI to essentially do life decisions, in my opinion. Like that's ridiculous. Like
Right.
is
Right.
an absolutely ridiculous statement. And we're seeing this like crazy spectrum of people that are super anti AI and don't trust it at all, and then super into AI and only trust it. And then like really you have to be productive and to be like using it in the right way, in my opinion, you have to be somewhere in the middle. That's just
Right.
like you have to be skeptical, you have to review what it outputs, but you have to also trust it to a certain degree that it can extend your expertise and it can make stuff faster for you.
We see this with everything though, right?
Correct.
It's like you
Mhm.
see people that like, people like Pokemon cards, but then you see the people that are like really into Pokemon cards. You see people that are like really pro entrepreneur, don't work for anybody. And then you see people that are really pro be an employee and don't worry about, all the stuff around it, do not become an entrepreneur. And then you just have everybody in between in all those situations, right? You have your like casual hobbyist Pokemon card people. You have your casual people that are like, maybe I'd start a business. Maybe I'll have a small side hustle and then a part-time job, like very kind of like, I don't know, centrist if that's the way you'd like describe that politically, if that even though it's not politics, but you know what I'm trying to get at is it is like we see this with everything. So there's going to be those people that go way too far into AI, but like who knows? Like is this manager somebody who does this every time? Like if React comes out and I know this person said it's not technical, but drop React. Let's just say Windows 11 comes out. He has Windows 10 on his work laptop. Windows 11 comes out, is he the guy that's like, I want to try Windows 11 and bugs the crap out of the IT department to put Windows 11 on his computer to try it? And so is this just par for the course for this guy where, maybe that's all he's talking about when Windows 11 comes out is like, oh, there's a centered taskbar and there's all these other things. But like maybe that's what he does, right? Like maybe he gets super excited about anything that's new in his life. Check out this new smartphone, check out my new car, you know, maybe that's this person. Like we don't know that, right? And so I know that there's this AI etiquette thing that we're, effectively what we're talking about, but maybe this person is just super into everything that's new. And like that's fine because you need people that are going to be, I'm going to hang on to stuff until it breaks and I'm not going to get rid of stuff. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then you're going to have people that are like, trading everything in and selling things that they have in order to get the new, like kind of trade up, trade up, trade up that are going to be super into it. And then you have the people that are sort of in, again, that centrist position where, for an example, they upgrade their smartphone every 2 to 4 years. They don't care about getting the new smartphone every year. They're not on those like trade up plans and all those kind of special programs that are run. And so maybe that's this. Like I'm really kind of giving this manager the benefit of the doubt, but honestly, it's because I've seen it be successful. It being just straight up firsthand, not with this manager, but with my own
Mhm.
client. And so
Yeah. I mean that's a good point, and I think it's a really good perspective to see both sides of this. Maybe they will correlate or course correct and get the etiquette down and be a successful manager or even a better manager because they're more knowledgeable. Because at the end of the day, like it does behoove like this guy's saying that his manager is not a programmer, right? But he's a
right.
manager, and like we've all had that situation where our non-technical managers demand ridiculous things that don't make any sense because they're non-technical. Well, if they are able to use ChatGPT or AI to become a little bit more technical and start re- realizing the bounds of their requests, it could benefit us, right? Like there
Yeah.
there is a positive outcome out of this. It's possible. I'm not sure if it's gonna be the case, but I mean you bring up a really good point there. Like it's totally something that could happen where you could convert a non-technical manager to be more technical through the use of AI and get a more realistic manager on the other side that is able to provide better bounds and give you better tasks because of that. So yeah, no, totally. I think this is overall an important discussion to be had over and over again because we don't know where it's going to end up. Like we don't know. Like maybe ChatGPT will become the manager.
I mean, well, here's the thing though. Here, like, I'll give an example, like not the manager example, but something that is considered generally negative, like still currently, in the kind of developer landscape is vibe coding. Some people love it, some people hate it, of course. But in terms of like somebody deploying to production as a vibe coder, that seems to be more or less like, especially developers are kind of like eye rolling. They don't like that, right? However, we just had an episode interview. The episodes, if you're interested, fixing vibe coded apps with Nathaniel Rogers. Nathaniel Rogers has a niche business in this. He is a developer and he's helping people fix vibe coded apps. He found a guy who was making his own, I think it was a CRM and other things like that. He was making his own and he was a mechanic completely unaware of developing and all this, and he loved this AI vibe coding thing. He just got into it, and then Nathaniel comes in and he starts to he drums up a conversation, has that and starts to fix this guy's code as a business. And so it's like, this is something that we see as software developers, again, I would say generally from what I see on social media, as negative, but isn't getting business a positive. Well, this mechanic would have, in my opinion, never contacted a developer to start coding something. But because he got into it and he really liked it, now he's kind of more serious. And it's like, hey, can I have somebody come and fix my project? Can you give this thing an audit? Because I realize that it shouldn't go into production. And so now there's actually more business being drummed up. Like there's that positive part, right? All this stuff that I'm like, all the stuff that that I just said. Maybe this doesn't become a viable business long term and it falls apart. But we also don't know what AI etiquette is. Like this stuff is so new, right? And things change all the time anyway. I mean, like we people used to just 10 years ago, like 10, 12 years ago, people were walking around with Blackberries. Now we have kids that don't know what that is. Like that's how much that's changed in just that short amount of time. So
It's
I don't know. Usually I'm a pessimist, I guess, but I feel like I'm being almost said an optometrist. I've been watching too much Trailer Park Boys. I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optometrist, but
80, 90 times.
80, 90 times, man. It's
Can't say what I'm saying. No, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, you bring up a good point, and I think like only time will tell. I think I made that prediction early on as well in the AI space where I thought it would actually generate more jobs than take away, at least in the short term, which I kind of feel like is going to happen. Like it's kind of shifting to that direction because I'm seeing these weird job postings pop up where they will post a vibe coding position and then a vibe code checker or something like that, or a vibe code engineer. Like there will be multiple positions for a single position now just to make sure that there's an engineer behind every vibe coder, which is good.
well, here's the thing though, is like just as I mean, I'll kind of like say this as my capstone. Like when we used to make websites, people used to always talk about like a procedure that they did, and obviously we still have procedures, but the procedure was often pretty intensive. So people would use, and it was different for every company, right? Different customer experiences and stuff, but they would do, the initial meeting, and then they'd have the wireframe, and then then they'd go into Photoshop, and then eventually, Photoshop wasn't the tool of choice for many. They'd go into like maybe like a Canva or like another like prototyping tool out there, like a Figma and things like that. And they would like start to like put together these visual elements. And when you and I first started, we were like, you know what, we're so fast at HTML and CSS, we may as well just prototype it up for them. Well, I mean, speeding up that procedure of, maybe you're skipping a wireframe and you're skipping a design and you're skipping or skipping a detailed design, I should say, and you're jumping right into a basic HTML, CSS, and JS website as your prototype. Like, what if the marketing department is able to produce that and then give that to the development team and say, we want this, but we need the data to come from these databases and we need it to be live from like these sources. And, we need a login system that, isn't just, vanilla JS and wrong. Cause like obviously in these prototypes, you're just going to make your password like 123 or whatever, right? Like who cares? And who cares if it's like even in plain text on the screen? Like who cares? But the point is like, isn't that going to make the development team more productive? But instead of us doing all this like on paper stuff to try to like get down to brass tacks, we're actually just saying, hey, here's like a half working version, run with it.
Well,
And they even, they well, like I think that'd be good though, Mike.
I don't think
I
so.
think that would be okay.
I don't.
You
I
don't think so?
no. Like if okay, so most developers I think will agree with this. And tell me if I'm wrong. Add HTML everything on X, HTML things on all the other platforms. Tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm given a half baked application that kind of sort of works great, like
Yeah.
it's almost there, and I'm told to fix it.
Oh no. I'm saying this is their presentation for you to start from scratch,
Oh, I see. Yes.
for
Okay.
you to
Oh, yeah.
understand
No,
what
no, no.
they
Okay. Yeah. No,
want.
I agree. Yeah. Then I think we're 100% aligned. Yes. That is
Not
it's
fixing it.
it's a
I wouldn't want to
POC.
fix it.
Like it's a POC, proof of concept.
Yes.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. That's I think perfect use case for AI. Quick proof of concept. Make sure you have an audience. Make sure the feature works. Whatever. Make sure that there's some logic. Rebuild. Yep.
Rather than from paper, because the
Correct.
paper is still that sort of like 2D
Paper
experience.
is useless. No, I 100,000% agree. I think that before even a lot of times, if there's like a big unknown in a project, let's say when you're gathering requirements and you're asked to create all the system design documents and like a million different documents to get the feature built, like that's pretty typical in big tech. Before you get to that point, in my opinion, do exactly what Matt just said. Present a really simple POC. Does it make sense? Is it doable? Is it feasible? Once you have that understanding, and you'll get to a point where you'll get to the understanding, it'll be way easier for you to create that documentation. The documentation will be way more realistic. Your estimates will be somewhat realistic, because if you don't have any freaking idea how this thing works, your estimates are just random. That's how software
Yep.
development works. Whereas if you have a POC, your estimates are there. You're like, oh, maybe I need another 3 or 4 days to fix it, or rewrite it, because I've already
Yep.
written it once. So even with AI, so like, yes, 100,000%. Yes, that's how software development, software design, architecture should be done. Test, POC, any architecture decisions, any features that you have no idea about, then write the design document. Love it.
Boom.
That's
I
it.
kind of want to change the name of this web news. I don't even know if we have an official one, but I feel like it needs to be like AI etiquette and the power of the POC or something. I don't know.
Nah. ChatGPT Nightmare is probably better, or like
It probably,
the
yeah.
title of the Reddit post, maybe even.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Well, I think that's it. That concludes the web news. And remember, I'm going to put a link to that other episode in the show notes and show description if you're interested. And that's it. We are signing off. Goodbye.
Goodbye.